Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. It has been 1 year since Donald Trump took office, and it has been, I think you'd agree, brutal in almost all ways. Masked, armed federal immigration officers looking like they're in the middle of a war zone in camouflage and long guns are subjecting the residents of Minneapolis to a violent and lawless occupation. While the president muses about sending in American soldiers and has his Department of Justice almost by the day go after local elected leaders. The economy is deteriorating, from unemployment to inflation to the tariffs Donald Trump has levied unilaterally. Hundreds of billions, maybe trillions of dollars in taxes on the American people, also leaving America even more isolated. The Dow Jones dropped almost 900 points today alone. Just in the past month, Donald Trump has seized and captured the president of Venezuela, brought him to the U.S. to stand trial, and announced, "We are taking their oil and selling it and then putting the proceeds in a private offshore bank account in Qatar that Trump controls." He's also threatened to bomb Iran as well as numerous other countries. In fact, our closest allies in Europe are preparing for a possible war with us because Trump wants somebody to give him Greenland and a Nobel Peace Prize. That obsession and its consequences were on full display today in Davos, Switzerland, as the annual meeting of world leaders became an emergency summit, frantic almost, to deal with an American president who is, not to put too fine a point on it, acting like an evil madman. And they've tried all sorts of strategies up until today, and they're still trying to coddle Trump like a toddler, to flatter him. Now they're facing an ominous fact that has been staring us Americans in the face for a year. The United States is a nuclear-armed superpower run by a would-be tyrant. And they are now talking about him like an enemy.
We need more stability in this world, but we do prefer respect to bullies, we do prefer science to plotism, and we do prefer rule of law to brutality.
The fact is, Trump only respects force and strength and unity. That's exactly what Europe should demonstrate right now.
I would like to confirm that they are an ally, but then they have to behave like an ally. You live in a time of monsters. Yeah. And it's up to him to decide if he wants to be a monster, yes or no.
Let me put this in words you might understand. Mr. President, f*** off.
Things are so dire, the Prime Minister of Canada, our steadfast ally to the north, our neighbor, gave one of the best, most clear-eyed, sober, urgent speeches that I've heard a politician deliver in a very, very long time. And certainly not the usual kind of speech that we hear at places like Davos.
Great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. But when we only negotiate bilaterally with a hegemon, we negotiate from weakness. We accept what's offered. We compete with each other to be the most accommodating. This is not sovereignty. It's the performance of sovereignty while accepting subordination. The powerful have their power. But we have something too. The capacity to stop pretending, to name reality, to build our strength at home, and to act together.
The thesis of Carney's speech is that the old order has been destroyed, that it lies in ruins, that this isn't just a transition, but a disruption. And it wasn't just world leaders. Visitors in Davos could see a glow in those snow-capped mountains after the sunset this evening, after a group of 10 local residents hiked up the mountain with 400.
This, for me, in the moment, Claire, is where, for me, the test is leadership. And I want you to listen to someone who I thought expressed some leadership on the global stage today. He's known as the governor of California in his comment to world leaders about their complicity to Donald Trump.
I can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. I mean, handing out crowns and this is pathetic. Nobel Prizes that are being given away. I mean, it's just pathetic. And I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. I mean, at least from an American perspective, it's embarrassing.
So from an American perspective, it looks pathetic what the world leaders are doing. I can only imagine what we must look like to them.
Yeah, worse. And Michael, I think it's time we acknowledge that this man is driven by a singular need for attention, accolades, and tributes. There is no difference. There's absolutely no difference between him wanting his name on Greenland and him wanting his name on the Kennedy Center and him wanting to pretend that he is some kind of world leader for peace. That's all he wants. And the irony of this is that, will Europe stop him? Will there be a war? Will we lose American young people in battle over this egomaniac's trip down Vanity Lane? Will Congress stop him? It's getting worse. Will the members of Congress stop him? Or will it take the American people to stop him? And I got to tell you.
Hello and welcome. Today we will explore how high-profile gatherings attract attention, shape messaging, and influence perception during moments of uncertainty. This discussion is not about any specific individual, location, or real-world event. Instead, it focuses on general patterns that emerge when influential figures prepare to engage with global audiences. Large international forums often serve as focal points. They bring together decision makers, business leaders, experts, and observers from many sectors. Because of their visibility, these gatherings amplify both statements and speculation. What is said, hinted at, or even implied can quickly become part of a broader narrative. Anticipation plays a major role. Before such events even begin, expectations begin to form. Observers analyze past statements, recent actions, and emerging signals to predict what may happen next. This anticipation can heighten sensitivity to language and tone. When influential figures are expected to attend, scrutiny intensifies. Every comment, gesture, or delay may be interpreted as meaningful. In this environment, even ambiguous remarks can fuel discussion and debate. This brings us to strategic ambiguity. Strategic ambiguity refers to statements that are intentionally open-ended. Rather than committing to a clear outcome, such statements invite interpretation. They may be used to maintain leverage, test reactions, or preserve flexibility. Ambiguity can be useful. It allows room for adjustment as circumstances evolve. It prevents premature commitments and keeps options open. However, ambiguity also increases speculation. When clarity is limited, observers fill gaps with assumptions. This can magnify uncertainty and amplify reactions beyond what was intended. Managing ambiguity requires careful balance. Too much ambiguity can undermine confidence. Too little flexibility can restrict negotiation. Effective communication navigates between these extremes. High-profile travel adds another layer. Movements associated with major events often attract attention in their own right. Schedules, logistics, and changes to plans may become part of the public narrative. Unexpected adjustments can occur. Travel disruptions, technical issues, or scheduling changes are common in complex operations. While these adjustments are usually routine, heightened attention can turn them into talking points. This highlights the role of perception versus reality. What is operationally minor may appear significant when viewed through the lens of anticipation. Understanding this difference helps explain why seemingly small details can attract outsized attention. Public confidence is influenced by continuity. When plans proceed smoothly, attention remains focused on content and substance. When plans change unexpectedly, focus may shift toward process and logistics. This shift can distract from core objectives. As a result, managing expectations becomes important. Clear communication helps prevent logistical issues from overshadowing substantive engagement. Another key element is confidence signaling. Expressions of confidence can reassure supporters and signal resolve. They can also shape negotiation dynamics by suggesting certainty of outcome. Confidence, however, must be credible. When confidence aligns with action and preparation, it reinforces trust. When it appears disconnected from reality, it can provoke skepticism. This is why tone matters. Measured confidence tends to be more effective than absolute certainty. It conveys strength while preserving adaptability. High-profile gatherings often serve as stages for messaging. Participants may use the occasion to reinforce priorities, test reactions, or reset narratives. Because audiences are diverse, messages may serve multiple purposes simultaneously. This multi-audience communication is complex. Messages must resonate with partners, observers, and internal stakeholders. Balancing these audiences requires careful framing. Framing shapes interpretation. How an issue is framed influences whether it is seen as negotiable, essential, or symbolic. Framing decisions affect how others respond. Symbolic framing can elevate importance. When issues are presented as foundational or decisive, they attract attention and urgency. However, such framing can also reduce flexibility. Flexibility is valuable in dynamic environments. Conditions change, information evolves, and reactions vary. Maintaining flexibility allows adaptation without loss of credibility. Another important concept is narrative momentum. Narratives develop quickly around high-profile events. Once established, they influence how subsequent actions are interpreted. Early messaging can shape the entire narrative arc. This makes initial communication especially important. Clear, thoughtful statements can guide interpretation and reduce misalignment. However, narratives are rarely fully controlled. Media coverage, commentary, and public reaction all contribute. This shared construction of narrative means that messages may be interpreted in unexpected ways. Understanding this helps explain why some statements generate stronger reactions than anticipated. It is not only the content, but the context and timing that matter. Timing influences impact. Statements made just before or during major gatherings carry more weight than those made in quieter moments. Timing can amplify urgency or signal priority. Preparation helps manage timing effectively. Well-prepared participants anticipate questions, reactions, and scenarios. Preparation supports calm responses rather than reactive ones. Reactive communication can escalate uncertainty. When responses appear improvised, observers may question direction or coherence. Prepared communication conveys stability. Another factor to consider is continuity of engagement. High-profile events are moments within longer processes. They do not exist in isolation. Outcomes depend on what happens before and after. Sustained engagement matters more than isolated appearances. Follow-up discussions, consultations, and coordination shape long-term results. This is why many observers look beyond headlines. They watch for consistency over time. Consistency builds credibility. Credibility underpins influence. When words align with actions across multiple interactions, trust grows. Trust makes dialogue more productive. Without trust, even confident messaging may fail to persuade. Trust is cumulative. It develops gradually through reliability and transparency. High-profile forums test trust. They reveal whether systems can communicate clearly under scrutiny and adapt under pressure. Adaptation is not a sign of weakness. It reflects responsiveness. Responsive systems adjust messaging and strategy based on feedback. Feedback loops are essential. They allow participants to learn how messages are received and to refine approach accordingly. Another important element is expectation management. Managing expectations helps prevent disappointment and misinterpretation. It aligns ambition with realism. Overpromising can damage credibility. Understating intentions can reduce impact. Balance is key. Balance is achieved through clarity, humility, and preparedness. Prepared participants communicate with confidence grounded in process. Process provides stability. When observers understand that decisions follow structured processes, uncertainty feels manageable. Structured processes also reduce speculation. They provide reference points for understanding what comes next. In closing, high-profile gatherings concentrate attention, amplify messaging, and test communication strategies. Success in these moments depends less on dramatic statements and more on clarity, consistency, and preparedness. Managing ambiguity, signaling confidence responsibly, and maintaining flexibility